told to expect the worst. Toddler Ben Needham disappeared on a Greek island 25 years ago. Now police believe he may have been killed and buried by this man, who has since died.
Could have been ended 25 years ago. Could have. I could have probably forgiven that person back then, but now, no. It's 25 years of misery to find out this ending.
Also tonight, I'm not Nigel Light. Diane James is the new leader of UKIP.
The gentle imam bludgeoned to death. An Islamic State supporter gets life.
After the heat wave, the floods, travel chaos in parts of England, and
you and I are just like a couple of dots.
Whitehead's car karaoke is winning hearts and a record deal.
This is the ITV Evening News with Mark Austin and Ranveer Singh.
Good evening. For 25 years, Kerry Needham has hoped for the best. Now, finally, she's been told to fear the worst. Her son, Ben, disappeared on the Greek island of Kos when he was just 21 months old. With no body found, she was always convinced he was still alive. But after new evidence has emerged, she's facing the agonising possibility that Ben may have been dead all along.
a man has told Greek police that his friend may have killed him in a digger accident and buried him. South Yorkshire police officers are returning to the island within weeks to begin excavation work. In her only TV interview, Kerry told our correspondent Martin Geisler about her ongoing agony and her anger that someone may have covered up the truth.
The past 25 years have been a long, dark, lonely journey for Kerry Needham, but the desperate search for her missing son may finally be reaching an end. Detectives on the case have received new, credible information. They now believe Ben died on the day he disappeared, killed in an accident on the Greek island of Kos and buried nearby. They think they know where the body is, and they're preparing to dig. Kerry has been warned to brace herself for the worst.
We don't want to accept it. We don't want to believe it. You know, I think we've lived for 25 years with that hope that one day he will come through the door. And we don't want to accept it. It's going to be difficult, really, really difficult.
The team will focus on two areas close to this small farmhouse, the last place Ben was seen. Reconstructions like this one have formed part of a 25-year search that spanned the world. But now detectives believe he's been here all that time.
In one respect, I hope to God that they don't find anything, and I'll still have that hope that Ben is out there. But then can I live with that for the rest of my life? You know, this roller coaster of emotions, up and down, the devastation of thinking that we've found him, and then after DNA tests, it's not him. I just don't know what is the better outcome.
The new theory points to this man, Konstantinos Barkas. He's said to have been driving a digger close to the spot where Ben was last seen. It's alleged he may have killed Ben by accident and then buried the body. Barkas died recently, and only then did a friend of his come forward to share that thought with police.
This new witness that's come forward is obviously a man from Kos. He's known our family. He's seen me on the TV. He's seen my family on the TV for 25 years. And he knew this information 25 years ago. Of course, I'm angry. And I'll be more angry. I know it'll be the stages of grief, if you like, and I will be angry. Of course I will. He could have ended this 25 years ago. I could have grieved, had my daughter, moved. You'll never forget your child, but at least I would have known where he was. You know, and I could have done something with my life instead of having a life on hold and not being able to do anything or focus on anything and live in this nightmare. It could have been ended 25 years ago. Could have. I could have probably forgiven that person back then, but now, no. It's 25 years of misery to find out this ending. No, it's going to be difficult.
Over the past 25 years, Kerry Needham has had her hopes raised and then crushed, time and again. Ben disappeared while on holiday in Kos in July 1991. In 1996, a suggestion he was staying with travellers nearby came to nothing. After years of campaigning by his family, Greek police reopened the investigation in 2011. The next year, the farmland from where Ben vanished was excavated, but nothing was found. Last March, the family's hopes were raised again when a man thought to have been Ben was identified, but DNA tests proved otherwise. Now, another development and another dig. For all this time, you've been following this light,
Yes.
this hope. If that light goes out, how do you begin to cope with that?
To deal with the fact that he could be dead, and he's been dead for 25 years, I don't know. If I can get up from it, can I? Am I strong enough to? I just don't know. If I am, I know there's only so much stress and trauma a person's mind and body can take. I might have a heart attack, I might die of shock, I just don't know. I'm scared of that. I am scared of how I'm going to be able to deal with this if that's the case, if they do find something.
With limited funds available, this is likely to be the final push for the Ben Needham investigation. Kerry knows if she doesn't get an answer this time, it's likely she never will.
So, Martin, it goes without saying, a desperately sad story, this. What happens next in your understanding of it?
Well, South Yorkshire Police issued a statement today. They didn't say much, but they did confirm that they will be sending a team of officers to Kos in the coming weeks to dig at 2 sites close to this farmhouse. They have told Kerry that there is no X marks the spot, but she knows that they wouldn't be undertaking this exercise, this substantial exercise, if they didn't have reason to believe there was a likelihood they would find something. But what? She's faced with only 2 prospects. She's either going to find out that her son is dead after all these years, or she's going to have to face the possibility that she will never know what happened to him. And each one of those prospects is as appalling as the other for her. For South Yorkshire Police, the work begins now. For her, the really difficult period is only about to begin.
All right, Martin, thank you very much indeed.
To other news, and UKIP's new leader, Diane James, has promised to take on the Tories over Brexit. The 56-year-old businesswoman was elected as Nigel Farage's successor today. Diane James called the Prime Minister Magpie May for taking many of UKIP's policies. But as our political correspondent Libby Vina reports from Bournemouth, she's already facing her first row within the party.
To announce with 8,451 votes, the leader of the UK Independence Party, Diane James.
She won easily, albeit on a small turnout. But can Diane James really fill Nigel Farage's shoes? She thinks so, going on the attack over whether the Tories will deliver on Brexit, while also accusing the Prime Minister of stealing UKIP's policies.
But Magpie May. Magpie May, you've stolen so far our 2% defence spending. You've also tried to steal our grammar schools, but I think you're going to have a few difficulties getting that one through.
So who is Diane James? She was elected as an MEP for South East England in 2014 and came a close second in the Eastleigh by-election the year before. But occasionally she's made gaffes, most notably when she called for a freeze in immigration because of what she said was the crime associated with Romanians. She later apologised. She may not be a household name like Nigel Farage, but she speaks the same language. And with Europe top of the political agenda, she could cause just as much trouble for the main parties at Westminster. It's unlikely she'll be able to make a claim like this just yet.
And together, we have changed the course of British history. And we've brought down a Prime Minister.
But critics in the party say she's ruthless, having today banned one speaker, former Tory MP Neil Hamilton.
It's my prerogative and I chose to change the programme.
Why? A purge?
No, not a purge.
If she's had a look at what's going on in the Labour Party and thinks, oh yeah, we'll have a bit of that for UKIP, I would have thought that was ill-advised.
Her predecessor never shied away from controversy, and nor, it seems, will she. Libby Vina, ITV News, Bournemouth.
A British man with Asperger's syndrome can be extradited to the United States on computer hacking charges, a court ruled today. 31-year-old Laurie Love from Suffolk is accused of stealing data from US agencies. Home Secretary Amber Rudd will now decide whether to approve extradition.
George Osborne says the government is 100% committed to his Northern Powerhouse project, launching a new body to push the scheme forward. The former Chancellor also said he'll stay in the Commons to fight for causes he cares about.
A supporter of so-called Islamic State has been jailed for life over the murder of an imam in Rochdale. Mohammed Saidi helped target 71-year-old Jalal Uddin because he considered some of his Islamic beliefs were black magic. Saidi acted as a getaway driver for another man who beat the pensioner to death in a park as he returned home from evening prayers. From Rochdale, Damon Green reports.
To the people of Rochdale, where he lived, he was a religious teacher, a peaceful and well-respected man. But to a pair of ISIS fanatics, he was a figure of hatred, and they killed him for his beliefs. Mohammed Saidi and Mohammed Qadir filmed Jalal Uddin with their phones as they stalked him. Then one evening last February, they committed his murder. Many Muslims here believe it was to make others afraid.
I would describe it as an act of terrorism, where people are using violence to scare and to try to defeat somebody's religious practices.
The court heard how ISIS flags were found at Saidi's home, along with images of him with symbols of jihad and making ISIS salutes on the streets of Rochdale. CCTV seen by the jury showed his victim walking home from evening prayers, stalked by the two young men in Saidi's car. The 71-year-old crossed a road and entered a park. Qadir jumped out of the car with a hammer and ran after him. Minutes later, the old man lay dying. Today, a jury decided that was murder.
They have done some surveillance on the victim. They have followed him on the evening. It was a brutal attack which was planned. Saidi supplied the weapon, he drove the car, and he assisted Qadir in this attack.
The former imam was killed because of his belief in this amulet worn around the neck, a piece of paper inscribed with blessings. It's called a taweez, considered harmless by most Muslims, but not by ISIS extremists. It's believed Mohammed Saidi could have been radicalised while taking part in an aid convoy to Syria, and that the man who struck the fatal blow to Jalal Uddin could be there today, having fled the UK after the attack. His accomplice begins a 24-year sentence tonight. The fear he created has left its mark. Damon Green, ITV News, in Rochdale.
Still to come on the ITV Evening News. A train's derailed by a landslide and flash flooding causes travel chaos across much of the country.
And Sophie Wessex on cycling from Edinburgh to London. But will the rest of the royal family take it up too?
I'm not sure the Lycra is probably the kind of thing that we all ought to be getting into particularly quickly.
She's probably right. Those stories and more right after the break.
Welcome back. Storms and torrential rain caused travel misery in many parts of England today as summer came to a sudden, soggy end. Stretches of motorway were submerged, lightning cut power to thousands of homes and some railways were closed too. In Watford, a landslide derailed a train, injuring 2 people. Paul Davies has the latest.
The busiest rail line in Britain at a standstill. Torrential rain caused mud and rocks to slip onto the track just north of Watford. An early morning commuter train heading for London was partially derailed in this tunnel. 400 passengers spent most of the morning in the tunnel. It was 4 hours before they were rescued. When this Virgin train finally took them to the nearest station, they revealed just how close a call it had been. Their derailed carriage had been struck a glancing blow by a second train.
When we realised that actually the train had been derailed, then what we were worried about was getting hit by another train, and obviously you got a glancing blow from the other train, so it could have been a lot worse.
I actually thought that this was the end, and that the guy sitting opposite me, he even fell off his chair.
This is Europe's busiest rail line, and while trains are running now slowly,
The disruption to thousands of journeys will continue throughout the day, just part of the chaos caused by today's weather. It had begun with spectacular early morning thunderstorms. Flash flooding at Newbury in Berkshire saw early commuters abandon their footwear and any hopes of getting into work. In parts of the south and southwest, half a month's rain fell in a few hours. The clear-up in places like Didcot in Oxfordshire has taken most of the day. Network Rail say it's likely to be next week before the West Coast main line is fully restored. Paul Davis, ITV News.
Over in Brazil, British success continues at the Paralympics in Rio. They've now won more than 50 gold medals. The landmark was reached today when three-time world champion athlete Paul Blake claimed victory in the men's 400 metres. The 26-year-old led from the start, finishing in just 54.49 seconds.
To sporting endeavours of a royal kind now, and the Countess of Wessex has been speaking about a cycle challenge she's starting next week. To mark the 60th anniversary of the Duke of Edinburgh Award scheme, she's cycling from Scottish capital to London. She told our royal editor Tim Hewitt about her tough training regime and how the Duke himself has inspired her.
The Countess of Wessex has been preparing for her 450-mile cycle ride for 6 months. A training programme that's taken her up to 82 miles a day. At the age of 51, she's a great believer in physical fitness, but admits that this challenge has tested her to the limit.
There have certainly been moments along the line, certainly in the early days of training, when going up yet another hill, I just thought, this is impossible. How I'm never going to be able to get the mileage up. I'm never going to be fit enough to do it. So I've probably surprised myself as to how far I've progressed, and have proven to myself that, yeah, I'm getting off my backside and I'm going to be able to do something.
If she needed inspiration, there was no need to look further than her 95-year-old father-in-law, whose Duke of Edinburgh Award scheme this is all in aid of.
He's always remained fit. I mean, you know, there's not many people his age that are still, carriage driving. And, he realises, I think, probably that in order to retain his full physical faculty, that he has to get out there and make himself do things.
European royals like Queen Mathilde of Belgium are regularly seen on 2 wheels. But the Countess of Wessex thinks it's unlikely she'll be setting a trend among the House of Windsor.
I'm not sure the lycra is probably the kind of thing that we all ought to be getting into particularly quickly. No, I can't see that everybody's going to be following me onto 2 wheels.
Her cycle journey will start in Edinburgh on Monday. Tim Hewitt, ITV News.
And finally tonight, the incredible 80-year-old with Alzheimer's who's hoping to top the charts and raise awareness of the disease. Ted McDermott found singing in the car with his son helped him cope with the symptoms of dementia.
When the videos were published online, his amazing voice captured the hearts of millions, and that earned Ted, a former Butlins Redcoat, a record deal, as Nina Nanar explains.
Something extraordinary happens whenever Simon takes his dad, Ted, out for a drive.
Tell me, when will you be mine? Tell me quando, quando, quando.
Ted McDermott, who's 80, suffers from Alzheimer's disease. But for this former Butlins Redcoat, crooning comes easy.
I've got you under my skin.
Ted may struggle to remember, even to recognise his own family, but his son realised that a car sing-along brought his old dad back.
When he sings, he's back to my normal dad, and he gets his swagger back, really. So, yeah.
That must be really nice for you.
Yeah, it is, and our relationships have been me and my dad become really close, especially even just going out for a drive and singing together. And we literally drive for about 2 or 3 hours just singing non-stop.
You make me feel so young. You make me feel though spring is sprung.
And so to Abbey Road Studios, no less, to record a single. Simon had posted videos of his dad's car sing-alongs online to raise money for the Alzheimer's Society. But they were also spotted by a record company.
I want to go play hide and seek.
My dad's not completely disappeared, he's still there, he's still my dad, he's still inside there. It's just all jumbled up, And I think that even if there's something after this life or whatever, that maybe he's back to normal, he'll be like, oh God, you know what, that was fantastic, we got to #1.
Get Simon and his dad in a car with a song, and even dementia can't defeat them. Nina Nanar, ITV News.
Well, on that note, it's time to say goodbye. Julie's here at 10.
Not singing, one assumes. Who knows? Have a great evening.
Bye-bye.